Hello, Steve White, Steve House 89. Well, I'm sort of doing horror reviews. I'm sort of doing a big movie marathon. Basically, it's the Before I Die marathon. I want to watch all the movies I've bought over the years that I've never gotten around to watching or watched so long ago I can't remember. And I did the When a Stranger Calls franchise, which is the original film, sequel, and a remake. And it's one of the few instances where the remake is actually good. It does its own thing, and it is as good as the original but different. So it's not trying to duplicate it because you're never going to be better, but you can sort of repeat the magic sometimes, but not often. Now this one, it has all the elements of the original, or at least the beginning of the original that made it work, because the opening of that film is brilliant. It's great. And then the middle of the film gets really lost with the killer escaping 5 years later, and takes forever to get back to the original character, but they do go back to the original character, and then the ending really works. The second film is all about that woman surviving and helping other people, and then getting drawn back into sort of like a second sort of stalking. And again, it has a great ending, it works. Now, When a Stranger Calls, the remake, I saw this in the cinema, and I really loved it, really worked. It's got the basic setup, babysitter, stalked by the killer, but like with the original, well, first you don't know who it is or what they're there for. And in one of the great things about this is you never really find out who the killer is or why they were after this girl. It is just a mystery, and too fewer films, have a mystery. They're afraid. They feel like they have to explain everything, and they don't leave you any room to think or imagine or just leave a good old mystery. And this does. Now, instead of going for the classic sort of haunted house, gothic house, they go for a super modern house, which is creepy in its own way. It's out in the woods. It's totally open, but it's totally isolated. It has so many elements where you're exposed and can be seen, but also so many places where you can hide and be hidden. I think they're using a real house, and they built the set. I know they built a set, but I don't think they built the house from scratch. I don't think they designed it for the film. I think they based it on a real house. But there's a granny flat and a house, and the girl basically she's. They show that there actually is a killer out there killing babysitters at the start of the film, and then they just go to her having trouble with her father, and her father basically banning her from using her phone, which is why she doesn't have a phone. I think at the time, I can't remember now. Does she have a phone, or she's using the house phone? Either way, the house has a phone. Her friend visits, but for the most part, she's alone in the house with the kids. The kids are asleep. She's getting phone calls. She calls the police. It's very much like the opening of the original film. It's just stretched out like we wish the first film was done. And the actress, God, what is her name? Camilla Bell? She's really good. She's understated. She's not sexed up. She's not a bimbo, but she's not, the goody two-shoes virgin prude or anything like that. She's just a regular, relatable girl. She doesn't make too many mistakes. There's a couple of moments where it's like, okay, she did that for story, not because it actually makes any sense, but there are only a couple of little things. For the most part, there's enough room with the setup and with the house to actually make all the stalking convincing. And the brutality, the first time you see the stalker and the initial attack, the brutality, the consistency of that, he just keeps coming, and then you never really find out who he is, not really, and it just ends like a lot of crimes and a lot of things. You really don't understand why it happened. You just have to live with it and cope with it, and it's just a really good film. One of the few instances of a remake that I won't say is better than, it is better than the original, because the original film really lost its plot in the middle. The start and ending were great. And the original setup is a little bit more relatable because it's just a regular house in the neighborhood, whereas this is like sort of like not a mansion but like a rich person house out in the woods. It's but it still works. So yeah, I'm gonna go. I've been talking for nearly 5 minutes. I can't think of anything else. Just it's really good. If you haven't seen it, watch it. And there have been a lot of remakes of a lot of classic horror films. Some of them don't work, some of them do. I do like having them as an extra, like when you do this marathon like this, you sort of watch the original, you watch sequels, then you watch the remake, and it sort of gives you a whole evening So I'm not that bothered if they're not always great, because then you just get to compare them to the original, and they often make the original seem better. But if they're great, usually it's just a bonus. A lot of people get caught up on why they remake it, why they do this, like it competes with the original. It really doesn't. It doesn't take away from the original, and you can watch and view both. You can have both. But and this is one of the instances where I'm happy to have both, and I was just as excited to watch the remake as I watched the original. And I enjoyed it in its own ways just as much. But I'm going to go